Week 1 of the NFL has wrapped up. What a great way to start out the season. There was a couple kind of, mid games that, weren't very high scoring or super interesting, but there were pretty much, there was only a couple blowouts, a ton of close games. We're going to talk about every single game that happened in Week 1 and kind of go through them, talk about mostly just, what went down, just takeaways, how teams are looking to start out the year. So there's going to be highlights. I chose like 4 different highlights from whoever the winning team was. So I didn't include any from the losing team. Sorry, you got to win in order to have your highlights displayed. But we will be going through all 16 games that went down Week 1 and talking about all of them. And we are going to start with Thursday night football matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game this was. It lived up to the expectations, lived up to the hype. And how about the Detroit Lions living up to the hype? I mean, they were, a lot of talk in the offseason that this team was going to be an 11-6 team, winning the NFC North, winning the division. There was so much talk about them, in their upgraded team, and they definitely showed out. Their defense looks awesome. And I know people want to say, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're missing Kelsey and Jones. I don't want to hear it. That's not the Lions' issue. That Lions were missing plenty of players too. They were missing Jameson Williams, their second best receiver. They were missing 2 different interior defensive linemen who, are 2 of their best there. So I don't want to hear it. The Detroit Lions earned this victory. What a win and what a way to start the season for the Detroit Lions. 1-0, and they look really good. Moving into our Sunday games, we'll start with the 1 p.m. games. Looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Minnesota Vikings. This was a weird one because I don't think anyone in the right mind would have picked the Buccaneers to go on the road and take down the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm one of the guys that kind of understood the Vikings were overrated last year. Kind of knew that they were probably going to lose first round of the playoffs. This year, I expected them to be about a 9-8 team. This is a game that they needed to win though, and this was an important one because these kind of games are the games that determine whether or not you make the playoffs. And that game right there could be the reason that they make or miss the playoffs. So we'll have to wait and see. Jacksonville taking on Indianapolis. The debut for Anthony Richardson. He looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie. He actually was really impressive. But the Jacksonville Jaguars looked even better. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, man. That connection is going to be good this year. I predicted Ridley to be a top 10 receiver this year. I'm already thinking about moving him up to number 5. He looks really good. Trevor Lawrence is looking great. I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have a really good year. I already have them, as the 4 seed in the playoffs. They could move up to the 3 seed. I really do think that this team has what it takes to have a really good year this year, and maybe not compete for a Super Bowl this year, but I think they could go all the way to the conference championship. I do think this team is trending in the right direction, and probably in the AFC has one of the brightest futures for upcoming teams that are on their way up. So, yeah, overall, though, the run game looked good. I liked what I saw from Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's going to have his best season, going into year 3. So, great to see from them. And the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, his debut taking on Lamar Jackson, who's back and healthy with his new contract. J.K. Dobbins went out with a season-ending injury. That's going to really hurt the Ravens. I know they don't rely on the run game that much, but Dobbins is a good running back. And that really sucks. He's always hurt, it seems like. So, I will see how much it affects them. Lamar, he looked okay. Didn't have any touchdowns, but the run game looked pretty nice. They were scoring, and they beat the Texans pretty badly. Stroud looked pretty good in his debut, but he didn't do anything great. Kind of had a rough game, to be honest. But he looked solid, for a first game. It wasn't anything too bad. I think Texans have got a bright future as well, but the Ravens are looking really good. This was a big game here because in the NFC South, if you watched my first video on this channel, I talked a lot about how I think the NFC South is wide open for who can win it. I think that you could win 8-9 games, kind of like last year with the Bucks making it in at 8-9. I think you could easily win 8-9 games and make it in to the playoffs as a 4 seed, in this division. So I do think that the Falcons have a good chance of that. I had the Panthers going 9-8 and the Saints going 10-7. I just didn't trust the Falcons quarterback play, but with that run game with Bijan and Tyler Algier, man, Tyler Algier, this dude that I hadn't even heard of up until last year, had a 1,000-yard year his rookie year. That dude is a beast. Bijan looked good. He didn't get as much usage as I thought, but he did have a touchdown, and he had a couple nice plays. The Falcons are looking really good. Bengals-Browns. This might be one of the biggest shockers. I could have if you would have told me the Browns would have beaten the Bengals, I would have said, like, okay, yeah, I mean, I have no issue with that. But to win 20, I think it was like 24-3 on the opening day, it was wild. You know, I know Joe Burrow probably missed, basically all of training camp with that injury. So he was a little rusty. The run game didn't look good either for the Bengals. They got some cleaning up to do, but I still do think that they can compete in the Super Bowl this year. The Browns, though, I had them going 8-9 and just missing the playoff by about a game and a half. They might surprise us all and go 10-7 this year and make the playoffs. I mean, I really liked what I saw from them. I think that they got a really bright future. Their defense is probably top 3 to 5 in the league, so they look really good. Speaking of good defenses, 49ers and the Steelers, two of probably the top 5 in the league as well. Brock Purdy picking right back up where he left off. He looked really good. The 49ers overall looked good. Their defense was very good. They were just trashing Kenny Pickett. Pickett, and on the other hand, he did not look great. I was expecting a little better from him. I think he'll be okay. But that Steelers offense did not look good at all. Their defense was okay here and there, but 49ers rolled over this team. I mean, it was bad. Once you got into the second quarter, they just kind of took off. Christian McCaffrey, here's that big run. Probably one of the biggest plays of the week. Really liked what I saw from him. This 49ers team, I do think they're honestly looking like the best team in the NFC right now. Between them, the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Lions, I think those are probably our 4 best NFC teams. And really impressed by how well they played. So now we're taking a look at the Cardinals at the Commanders, and it looked like for a while the Cardinals might be able to pull that game out and win that, but they ended up losing, which is probably good for them. They're in rebuild mode now. I think they need it. Looking at the Commanders, Sam Howell, his first career start, I believe, he looked good. I was happy with his performance. The defense was pretty good. A little bit of cleaning up to do. The run game was okay. O-line, needs to be a little bit better. But Howell looked all right. I thought that he played pretty good, and I think that he has a bright future. And I thought the Commanders looked all right. We'll see how they do the rest of the year. Saints and Titans. The Saints, I have them winning the division at 10-7. They didn't look all that great. I think their offense struggled a lot. Luckily for them, though, their defense is great, and Ryan Tannehill also had like 3 interceptions. So, but yeah, the Saints defense, they look legit. I think that once Alvin Kamara comes back, this offense will be even more dynamic. And if Michael Thomas stays healthy for a full season, they could be really, really good this year. I do think the Saints have a good chance of winning that division. That division's still wide open, though. But they looked good to start off the year. I think the Saints, for sure, are looking nice. The Titans, I mean, they should just go into rebuild mode. I don't know why they're not starting like Will Levis or Malik Willis, because Ryan Tannehill is just not it. So we'll see how they do. There were a ton of home teams that ended up losing to teams they were not supposed to lose to. I mean, this is just another one. The Raiders, taking everyone by surprise. I know a lot of people had them going like 2-15 this year, which I have them going like 7-10. I think they'll be okay. You still have Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, 2 of the best offensive players in the NFL. But looking at the Raiders, they looked pretty good. I thought that their defense, has a lot to improve on. But I think, just a few pieces away on defense from possibly being 9-8, 10-7 team. Jimmy G looked all right. Jacoby Myers had a huge game. Looking at the Broncos, the Sean Payton era, I mean, off to a really rough start. When losing at home, they shouldn't have lost this game. Russell Wilson didn't look great. Broncos got a lot of cleaning up to do. We'll see if they can fix it. The Patriots looked like they were going to win this game like 3 different times. The Eagles gave them like every chance they could. But to start the game, the Eagles looked like the better team for sure. They started out, obviously they had this defensive touchdown. They only had 1 offensive touchdown that game, so not great on offense. I think the offense did not look great, a little bit rusty. Defensively, they look good. Towards the end of the game, they gave up a lot of points, but man, they came up big when they needed to, and I think that's the most important part. The Pats defense, they're good, so I'll give the Eagles a little bit of credit there, but they needed to do a little bit better. But their defense came up with a clutch play when they needed to. Eagles still look like a top 3 to 4 team to me, just a little rusty today or on Sunday, and we'll see if they can improve next week. The Los Angeles Rams and the Seahawks, another home team, going down to a team that I don't think they were really expected to lose to. I mean, this Kyron Williams guy coming out of nowhere from Notre Dame. And then there's another rookie, like wide receiver, who had like 10 catches for 100 yards. I don't even know his name, but he's from like BYU, I think. The Rams winning in Seattle. I mean, revenge from last year, but the Seahawks should not have lost this game. Pretty embarrassing, 13 points at home. It was an embarrassing performance, and they should be ashamed. But you know what, it happens, but they got to be able to bounce back and, be a little bit better. Possibly the game of the week, I would probably say. I mean, a high-scoring, huge win for the Dolphins as well. I mean, they looked very good. The run game, still isn't great, but they looked all right. As for Tua Tagovailoa, who had almost 500 yards, I think he was like 467 or 460, something like that. Almost 500 yards. I mean, he's already probably the front runner for MVP. Tyreek Hill, probably front runner for Offensive Player of the Year. Just that offense is amazing. Defensively, they have bright spots, a little bit of cleaning up to do, like I said. And the Dolphins for sure could be a sleeper Super Bowl pick. Yet another home team going down to a team that I don't really think the Packers were expected to look as good as they did. The Jordan Love era has officially begun, and man, did he look good. I thought he looked excellent. I thought that he looked like a top 10 to 15 quarterback that game, 3 touchdowns. I don't know the completion percentage, but he, it looked a little rough at first, but he got it going, and that Packers defense looked great. As for the Bears, all that talk in the offseason, and you go out and shit the bed at home. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing. They were getting dominated basically the whole game. They were down 38-14 at one point, and yeah, it was bad for the Bears. A lot of talk, like I said, and they did not look good. Justin Fields did not look much better. Defense did not look much better. Offense just didn't look like they were all there, and the Packers look good. I'll give them that. Cowboys and Giants. Sunday Night Football, we move into our final game on Sunday. And the Giants, I mean, you want to talk about shit the bed at home, another home team losing. Yeah, I mean, they got blown out, one of the biggest blowouts I've seen in a while, 40-0. And if the story of the game was the Cowboys defense, they stepped up and they made Daniel Jones look like an 8th grader. I mean, that offensive line for the Giants, man, they're okay, but man, they looked horrible against that Cowboys defense. There's a lot of cleaning up to do on the offensive line. Defensively, they got a lot. I mean, just everything. That wide receiver core is not great either. As for the Cowboys, they looked like a top 3 team in the NFC. They for sure impressed, and I think they're going to be really good this year. And then our final game of Week 1, the Jets and the Bills. Another shocker here. Aaron Rodgers goes down in the first 4 plays, and then Josh Allen. A lot to talk about with him. 4 turnovers, 3 picks, 1 fumble. And I know this Jets defense is good. They're really good. Top 3 probably in the league. But Josh Allen, man, it was embarrassing. He did not play good. The Bills, they might be missing a piece or two, but they should be, a conference championship team. They have what it takes. They got the head coach, quarterback. But who knows? I mean, Josh Allen isn't looking great. Here's that punt return that, there was like 2 missed holding calls as well as like a missed trip call. But you know what? Congrats to the Jets. Zach Wilson got it done, and the Jets looked really good. So that's going to wrap up Week 1. It's also going to wrap up this video. My 5 biggest winners from Week 1 would probably be between the Detroit Lions, the Miami Dolphins, the San Francisco 49ers, the Cleveland Browns, and the Green Bay Packers. And my biggest losers would be between the New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks, and then tossed up between probably the Bengals and Bills. Overall, a great week, ton of interesting, 1-score games. Very happy with those. Lot to take away, a lot that's changed, in my playoff picture probably, and my final division standings. But it's just Week 1, still 16 or 17 weeks to go now. Still a lot to uncover, so we'll see what happens. But I do want to thank you all so much for watching. It would mean a lot if you liked or subscribed, or even if you don't, just thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.